The podcast is under review. After a review of the podcast, it was determined it crossed the line completely. We have a goal. News, trades, highlight reels. Get your hockey fix with The Podcast is Under Review.
Welcome to The Podcast is Under Review. I'm Ryan Pulsford. Joined alongside me, we have the one, the only.
Hello.
That's right. Don't give him your name or nothing. No, come on, man.
No. I'm Liam. Hi. I have two cats. I don't know. Are we doing like an icebreaker?
No, we're not. Hey, what an hell of an intro, but it's a great segment. It's a great segue.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about L's today, and not just the first 30 seconds of this podcast, which most definitely qualify. We're talking about Stanley Cup Playoffs losers.
Mm-hmm.
So, making podcasts is hard, as you're probably aware by now. We're a little late to the punch.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean being late's good in this sense, because we've had a little bit of time to see like the post-elimination freak out. We're going through, we're talking about all the losers out of round one, sort of recapping what went wrong in the series, maybe a little bit of what they've got left. So the question is, we want to start in the West or we want to start in the East?
I don't know. I feel like the West was more hotly contended just because like the round one matchups. So taking a look at them. So like Stars Golden Knights, we got the hottest team in the West versus the defending cup champs. Right? I feel like that was pretty hotly contested. Avs and Jets projected to be, probably going on a deep run. Turned out not to be so, because they came against I think we start in the West.
All right, let's start in the West. So you want to start with the first one we mentioned there, Dallas, Vegas.
Dallas, Vegas. Yes, that is quite. Man, I just think some good hockey played there, to be honest.
People are going to look at this one and they're going to talk to you and they're going to say, this is what's wrong with the playoff format. Listen, there are a lot of things wrong with the playoff format.
Yeah.
The Washington Capitals made the playoffs, which feels like a pretty good argument in and of itself. But you got to remember, Vegas was kind of bad for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't Edmonton bad, but like they were kind of rough for a while. And there was a point, like, not far from the trade deadline where we were all going, are they actually going to make it?
Mm-hmm.
This was just an unfortunate landing for both squads. Both teams probably deserve to play a less good team.
Mm-hmm.
You got to beat good teams to get to the Cup Finals. Vegas didn't have it. The goaltending was part of the problem at the end of the day. A lot of the jokes was there was an entire game won off of nothing but LTIR guys, and Hannafin and Stone, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But if Vegas didn't win the Cup last year, this is a very different conversation.
Yeah, I feel like they would have been due maybe some penance if they didn't, but they did. So, I mean, but yeah, I think you're right. You got to face good teams to keep up in the playoffs. And they fought Dallas, which was, I believe, I think they were one win off the President's Trophy before Rangers took it. I think
something like that. It was close. I don't have it in front of me.
Very close. And they just couldn't pull through. Granted, they did take it to 7, which is something to be said. Like, I'm not sure if they went back and forth. I don't think
it was kind of Vegas kind of blew it a little bit.
No, they went back and forth.
I feel like they had. Did that only lead by 2 games at one point?
Oh no, sorry. Vegas won game 2, 3-1 to take 2-0. So
that's what I thought. Yeah.
To make it 2-2. So they both won they both won away. They both won away in the first 4, and then back and forth, and then taking to game 7. And one goal game. The score was 2-1. And Dallas pulled through.
I think when you look at Vegas, you kind of just have to shrug a little bit. They're probably going to make big changes because they're Vegas and they think that's fun.
Yep.
And there's no point predicting them. There's no point trying to guess what this team's going to do.
No.
They won the Cup last year. I mean, I think it just kind of is one of those series that you just lose.
Mm-hmm.
It stings less if it's in the second round, but win more games in the regular season, and then you won't play Dallas.
Yeah. But
So I
again, like they did do fairly well. They took it 2-7. They made it a fight for Dallas to stay in. Again, they even went up 2-0 in the first two games. And people were like, "Oh, well, they're going to obviously move on to round 2." And then Dallas comes back, they some not underperformers, but like Wyatt Johnson, for example, he's on fire right now. Like he had a goal last game, and like, the big time performers, granted they are aging, but they have experience. And I think that experience showed off more than the Golden Knights. Because the Golden Knights, like you said, they just added like a bunch. Like what? They added Mantha, they added Hurdle, they added
Hannafin.
Hannafin. And like Calgary, I don't think they've been in the playoffs for a while. So Hannafin's kind of cold on the playoff front. Mantha, they went on that run in 2018. I don't have they been back? I'm not sure if they've been back in the postseason since.
Maybe there a little bit, but no deep runs.
Mm-hmm. And then Hurdle, Sharks. No. Sharks have not tasted playoff hockey in a little while. Maybe that'll change. Um we'll see. We shall
Macklin
see.
celebrate.
Yeah. Slacking for Macklin. They did that. Anyway, but yeah, I think Dallas made it a fight and they just came out on top. Big Golden Knights, you know, you were hot to start and then hit and miss and more misses than hits.
Yeah, I think it's Mulligan. They'll probably have to make changes just based on salary, but
Mm-hmm.
you won the cup last year. Take your first round loss.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. It's a bit of sure it's bittersweet. Like everyone wants to say that they've done back to back. Pittsburgh, Lightning, everyone wants to say it. Yeah, there you go. But Golden Knights, maybe in the future, you're still young. You did win a cup in 5 years of existing, give or
Six.
take 6 years.
Or no,
Hey
no,
man,
five.
that's pretty
Right.
good. If you have a cup in six, like that's not too shabby. I think that sort of instills you that your franchise probably won't be uplifted and moved elsewhere. Just because you can say that I have won a cup.
They've got enough support. I don't think they're too worried about that.
No, I don't think so either, but even so. But
A
yeah.
team. There have been some swirlings around if relocation's possible for the Winnipeg Jets.
Mhm.
This year's a not so deep playoff run
No.
not going to be particularly helpful, I don't think.
No. I mean, yeah. Well, you're wearing a Penguins jersey, so you must be a fan. That's my
I am
assumption.
indeed.
Um, I don't have anything Colorado. I am an Avs fan. Um, I could say very well that is because they were the Quebec Nordiques, but no, me and you both know why. And it's the same reason you're a Penguins fan.
No, untrue.
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 Okay, it's one of the
We've spoken
reasons.
about this in the first episode that everyone here has clearly watched. They
Okay,
know why I'm a Penguins fan. They also know why you're a Colorado fan, but
right.
remind the folks who maybe skipped out. They didn't do their homework.
So on the Colorado Avalanche, there's this player. He won the Calder in his year. And right now he's up for, I believe, Art Ross. And his name is Nathan McKinnon. And he's an absolute machine. It seems like he has more gears to give than anyone thought. And he is thriving on, honestly, probably a great, incredible first line that Bednar shoved together. Like, I mean, Druin's out. Druin also is maybe a little bit of a factor, but he just got traded in the offseason to them. But the chemistry is electric. Man, they just play good hockey. I enjoy how they're in the ozone. Just enjoy how they run things, man. It's fun.
So McKinnon leaves. Are you staying in Naps fan?
I don't think he'll leave. That's the thing.
Well,
Maybe,
eventually he'll leave.
yeah. I think so. I think this many years, like, I don't know, man. You know what? If they end up being bad at some point, which won't be for a while. I'm hoping at least. Because like if you look at their, if you look at their top six forwards, and then if you look at their first pairing, you got what would have been Drouin, you got McKinnon and Rantanen, I believe, is also on the first line. I'm not sure. Maybe he swaps the second sometimes. And then their first pairing of defense, Devon Taves and Kale McCarr. And I don't know if you noticed, Kale McCarr's on the cover of NHL 24. So he's good. Maybe that's not a metric to determine how good
Mhm.
some players are, but he won the Calder, he won the cup. Like he's a pretty standard defenseman.
Probably the
And
best in the league, I would
oh
think.
yeah, I would say quite handily the best in the league.
Oh, I don't know about quite handling. McCarr is good, but like guys like Hughes and Fox have also made some pretty strong cases.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we can talk about Hughes here in a moment because we're still in the West, but I like how Colorado's play hockey. Um, I thought the Jets were going to do better. I was an avid believer that they were not frauds. I was like, okay, come on, Jets. You did well enough. You have Connor Hellebuck in net. Go out and win this thing. And then they came up against the Avs, who, again, clearly had another gear to go. And I honestly don't think they're going to slow down.
The Jets as a team, I've tried to give them runway.
Hmm.
And if you look at it, to be fair to them, they were good in the offensive zone at generating chances until they weren't. They had a stingy top defenseman until they didn't. And they had the best goaltender in the world until he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at it and you can just say that, you know what? Things just went wrong. You played a good team. I'm getting real sick of the excuses from the Jets. I'm real sick and tired of it. The last time they did anything, I mean, they went to the second round during the COVID bubble year. And if you don't like that, then it's the first year Vegas existed. That's the bar. You got rid of Wheeler and it improved.
Mm-hmm.
Getting rid of him did seem to change this team for the better.
Also, Luc
Man,
Dubois, Pierre-Luc Dubois, went to the Kings for Velarde and Iafallo.
yeah, I held him out because like he was also like even before him, I was kind of at this point with the team, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely they made a huge cultural change and it worked. I just you gave Scheifele and Hellebuck 8-year deals, and I mean the numbers aren't bad on them. They're both good players. Oh man, I just don't understand this team. I don't think they're good. Not good enough. They're good, they're not great. Is probably the better way to say it. I haven't seen any proof this team can win a cup. You've now locked in 2 year older players until their late 30s. You're gonna have to do something with Ehlers. His contract's up next year, and you would just refuse to play that guy on the top line.
Mm-hmm.
They just they're allergic to the idea of it. Bonus is gone. He's officially retired. I don't know if that's the catalyst for change that they need,
Mm-hmm.
but like this series and maybe this run in general was the chance for this team to prove to me they had it in them. And you know what? It is Colorado. You lose in 7, but you go down swinging. All right, fine. This was a wet fart, and I'm just as a guy who probably put the Jets in my top 5 team. I'm so disinterested in this team making runs at the Cup because I just don't think they're close. And again, maybe the coach comes in, changes it up. I don't know. I don't know how great this coaching market could be really hot or it could be really cold.
Mm-hmm.
But you talk about Canadian teams whose iteration of team has to end, which we will. Uh, I'm just so done with this Jets team running this back because it's just not there.
So, what do you think would be the catalyst of change then? What do you think could kickstart them into being a better team? You said bonus is gone. They need to do something with healers.
I mean, they've got some prospects. You look at their prospect pool; they've got a couple guys that could be game changers. Morrissey's great. Would like to see him get a little more help. Like the team doesn't feel like they're far off,
Mm-hmm.
but you're now depending on your goaltender playing elite as he gets older. And if he doesn't, he's making big money. And you might have just locked yourself into Carey Price.
Mm.
And if that's the case, you got a couple chances for a deep run, and that's it. And you got to figure out what happened to him. And it was just brutal in the postseason. It wasn't good.
Mhm.
And again, Jets fans might look at me and throw up their arms and go, well, our starting goalie just vanished. What do you want us to do? I don't know. Have good goaltending because you need that to win. You won, what, one game? You might even have the roster to do it. There's a couple guys you could probably go out and try to add, try to capitalize on some teams that are selling things off. I don't know if a lot needs to change if you can get a coach that's good, but also, what are we doing? We're going in circles here.
Mhm.
This team hasn't, like, the last time this team made a move at the deadline, and I was really like, ooh, okay, was Paul Stastny.
Mm.
They've had some all right additions. Like, they've added guys who are good for the team, but no easy way to say it. Vegas Golden Knights go and get Thomas Hertl. They go and they get Noah Hannafin. They go and they get Anthony Mantha. How are you keeping up with that?
Well, because they cheated.
Then cheat. If it's
Cheated.
within the rules, you're allowed to do it.
You heard it here first, folks. Two
No,
absolute
not first.
amateurs. Yeah, no, not first.
We're the 1,000th people to say this, and I didn't even say it, frankly.
Yeah.
But like, you look at the teams around it. Even the Oilers getting Henrique, I mean,
Mhm.
or them getting Ekholm last year. I just haven't seen the Jets make moves. They're too passive a little bit. I'd like
Mhm.
to see Shovel-Dayoff go for it, make a real run at a guy. And they did that with Dubois, and some will say it failed. I'll say Laine hasn't been much better in Columbus, although not entirely his fault. I don't know. A very uninspiring team is, I guess, the way that I'll put it.
Mhm. So
Who
you're not having a lot of confidence in how the outlook looks for the next little while.
I would be like, do Jets fans? Like, am I completely mistaken? Is there a huge piece of optimism for this organization? Like, they are the type of team that can go on a deep run at any point.
Mhm.
You got the goaltending, you got a couple stars. You can do it. I just don't think this is a league where the teams that can do it usually hoist it. Because even the teams that, they're like, oh, you could do that, tend to lose late.
Mhm.
Vegas beats Florida type of thing.
Mhm.
Tampa beats Dallas. Tampa beats Montreal. Luck tends to run out in the sport more than it does in some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Jets need too much luck right now.
Mhm. All right. So this is an interesting one. Shall we go um Kings Oilers or Canucks Preds next?
Let's do Canucks Preds because I don't know if you heard Andrew Brunette's quote. I think he gave an interesting quote that I would like to discuss here,
Okay.
where he said this was only the first or second time in his hockey career. He's the coach now. He was a player for a long time. Where he came out of a best of 7 series, not sure that the better team won.
Really?
That is what he said, and disagree.
Yeah.
Like,
I would disagree with that.
I hate to break it to you, man. You lost to Artur Silvas, who the majority of people don't know exists.
Mm.
Like, I mean, I knew he existed, but I also consider myself a little more than just the average guy. You're not making a hockey podcast as an average fan,
No, clearly not.
but like the Latvian Wonder, I don't think is a well-known hockey. Even Casey DeSmith.
Mhm.
Casey DeSmith looked great against them. I don't think they were a bad team. I do think they kept up with Vancouver. I think it's an interesting quote to throw out there when you just lost to 3 separate goalies in a 4-game series.
Yeah. It doesn't it's not a hot look. And I mean, Vancouver just did more right. Like, I think probably the turning point was that come from behind victory with like dying seconds, pull the goaltender. Quinn Hughes absolutely breaks the ankles off of that Preds defender, passes it to, I think, Besser, and then shoots it. Granted, saved, and then tapped right in again. Like, you can't like you have to lock a game down. And especially against like a hungry team. You and I both know Vancouver, I think, has been hungry for a deeper run for a long, long time. We see what happens when they lose in a deep run, and it's not great. It's not great for the city of Vancouver. But I think they've been sort of in the shadows, but they've also turned it around, right? It was, I think, during the offseason, it was much the same discussion as the Jets. Oh, they're gonna be not great this year, right? And then they turn around and win Pacific against,
Canucks fans told us.
yeah. And I mean, once that momentum swings, especially in that game from the come from behind victory, once that momentum swings, it's hard to claw your way back from it. You can say, well, it was just that game. But then if you go forward in time from that game, well, what game would that have been? Would that have been three, I want to say, for
I'm
that
not
come from
100% sure.
behind? Let's see. Okay, well, regardless, like that momentum swung and it swung hard. And you can't be losing games like that. I mean, and even so, a little bit of bad luck came into play. Buddy went for the empty netter, hit the post. That's a tough one. But also, at the same vein, you can't be missing that. And then you go and let in two goals. And you know, yeah, you have some good players. You grabbed Ryan O'Reilly. You have Soros. You have Yossi. Like, it's
Can't
a
forget
solid,
Forsberg.
yeah, Forsberg as well. Like, you have a solid enough core, but I just think that momentum swing really, really hammered home. It's like, okay, well, it is what it is. But I disagree with that quote. I think the Canucks fought for it, and I think they were the better team ultimately, and that's why they've moved on.
The problem with it too is Nashville played a lot of that series the way they wanted to. I mean, you look at the goals Vancouver scored in the regular season, you look at it in the playoffs, they shut them down decently well. Of course, they were going to have breakout moments. Of course, they were going to take control of the game for a little bit. They played the game plan right. When you don't beat a team's third goalie, there's nothing you can do. And listen, I'm a Penguins fan. I'm familiar with third goalies who are young going on crazy runs. Believe me, that's how it starts. Also, Nashville is also familiar with those goalies, but they don't want to talk about that.
No.
You gotta find a way to beat them. You gotta beat them early.
Yeah.
If you let them get a groove under them, they're all still pros at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And I mean, Solovs especially has dealt with being on the biggest stage with Team Latvia. There's a lot of pressure there. You're facing a lot of chances.
Oh God.
You gave him a chance to settle in, and he beat you. I Again, Nashville's a team I think needs an addition. I don't think they have cup ambitions right now.
Mhm.
I think it's as simple as get number one center or get like a Mitch Marner tease. I'm
Tease?
teasing. I'm teasing for later on,
Well,
but I think they need an addition before they can really try to win a cup.
mhm. I guess left is Oilers Kings for the West. I mean, Kings Oilers are your kryptonite, man. Like
I
this
I think playoffs
streak.
are the kryptonite.
I
I don't
well
think
maybe because I mean, what the two cups you've won in this era have been sort of. I think at least one of them was Miracle Runs, and then the other one I don't know how hot they did. Well, that was what 2013 and 11,
12 and 14.
12 and 14. Okay, so I mean, yes, you did come against the Oilers, but you can't exactly be sore losers about it. You've lost to them 3 years in a row in the first round. Too bad, so sad. Like you have Doughty. He's kind of stepping up, but also he's older, and yes, he has that experience, but he can't do as he can't be your come from behind guy. I don't think so anymore. If Kopitar too, or is Kopitar or Kempe is their number one?
I still think of it as Kopitar, but I mean,
Okay, like they're old. And yes, they do have some promising prospects. I think of Byfield. He did
Big
fairly
year.
well. And, I think that deserves to be recognized. But like you're on an aging Kings team. I think the Oilers are only getting more and more. I think they are posed for a deep run. And granted, for round two, we know they're facing off against the Canucks. That's not going to be an easy one. But I feel like McDavid and crew, I think they're due for a conference final appearance at least.
There are wins that say things about the winners, and there's wins that say something about the losers. Cam Talbot's your starting goalie against Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Man, I like that's just not a recipe.
No.
They've talked about now, they're talking about maybe getting rid of the 1-3-1. And I could, like, if the 1-3-1 was going to work and be a valid strategy, it starts with being able to shut down the best. You couldn't.
Yeah.
You left Zach Hyman with 20 feet of space every single time, and he scored every single time because that's what Zach Hyman does.
Mhm.
This was the progress here, and for a little bit, it looked like they were going to get there, and it just fell flat. They just fell apart. I don't. Man, you need to get Pierre-Luc Dubois going.
Yeah.
Like, need.
And yet they say they're not going to.
Well, I mean, like, get him going as a player. You like
Oh,
getting rid of him. I think that is a bit of a losing effort at the end of the day. You paid him the money to give up on him on 1 year. I don't disagree,
but
especially when it's getting rid of your own mistake. And
yeah.
then they're already looking at your job and they're going, "Oh, you're already backing out of that." You can't get rid of him unless the GM wants to get fired.
Yeah.
But you got to find a way to make him produce.
But again, that also doesn't look good on Dubois. Granted, I'm not a hockey player, but you know, you go out buy a star, you go buy a star, full stop, and then he gets demoted to your fourth line. Like, that's tough. I mean, maybe he didn't find his groove. Maybe whatever rumor there is true. We don't know. We're not in that locker room. We're not hockey players. We're not in the mind of Pierre Luc Dubois. But yeah, I agree. Either get him going, or I don't know, man. Like, so he's locked in for 8. He's locked in for 8. We're in year 1, and he was not good. And how old would he be? He's on the younger side, Luc Dubois.
Yeah, he would be. I'm
Would he
just trying to
be
think of the.
like late 20s ish, or would he be
So mid.
mid? Mid, okay. Like you're young enough, you can bounce back 100%. But like, man, you got to get in the groove. Like, Kings, very defensive minded team, as you said, 1-3-1, and in the post interview, they're like, well, maybe we'll make changes. That didn't save you this year, and frankly, I don't think it would have anyway, even if you did change. Because then at that point, you're scrambling. You've been with the system for so long, now you're scrambling to get used to a new one. And I can't imagine that's easy on any line for that matter.
I think he's got to bite the bullet on it. It doesn't work in the modern NHL. Players are too talented.
Yeah.
They're too good for the 1-3-1 to have any effect.
I mean, I can see it for maybe some teams that don't have that, their offense, but it's sort of like reckless offense. Like they go in and I mean, yeah, they do get a lot of turnover sometimes with the 1-3-1. But like, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, your McDavids of the world can just spin around you. They can get through you, and then what? You have one other player covering them, and then again, if you can spin through 3 guys on that red line, you can get through the last guy there in the zone. I don't imagine it's that hard. But Kings, too bad, so sad. Get better. You have
Yeah,
promise, but is what it is.
put up or shut up, boys. It's time to decide what team you want to be.
Yeah. Hey, with that, um, we move on to the East. Do you want to talk about it, or like, do you want to talk about the Rangers Caps or
I think
what do you think last?
we save the Leafs for last. I think is what we do. I think people want to hear about the Leafs, and they're right. The Leafs are the most interesting story.
Yeah. So well, I've picked most of them. So why don't you go ahead and pick us the
All right,
East matchups?
let's look Metro.
Mhm.
As a Penguins fan, I got to watch two teams just squeak in ahead of us,
Yeah.
and now we're all at the same place, aren't we?
Hmm.
Let's start at the bottom. Let's start Washington, New York. I'm going to say this about both New York and the Hurricanes. I take nothing away from either series. You played teams that shouldn't have been there. Neither were that good. You mopped the floor with them. Good. That's the job.
Yeah.
You meeting in the second round is the test that both these franchises need because one of you has to break your demon at some point.
Hmm.
I take nothing out of the first round for either team.
No, I mean, especially with the sweep, like you see the President's Trophy winners, Rangers this year, 55 win team, and then you have the Capitals, minus 37 goal differential. Stats aren't everything, sure, but like again, it was a crapshoot to get in for that final wild card. It just so happened things panned out how they did, much to the chagrin of I think everyone besides Caps fans, maybe some Caps fans, but
Yeah, maybe.
it is sort of that David versus Goliath. Goliath wins. Like you're maybe David in a sense that maybe you can keep up in a game or two, but didn't at all. You got swept.
I
And
mean, shutting down Ovi's notable. Like Ovi was
yeah,
not in that series, but
yeah.
I also don't really look at it as a super comparable thing because, and I've had this conversation before, and we're gonna have it later on. I think
Hmm.
you can shut down the star player when you can throw all the attention on him.
Yeah.
If all you have to do is cover Ovechkin and no one else is going to step up, it's not that hard.
No. And I mean, it's not like I don't want to pick on him, but we've both seen how he's playing. He sits right at the hash marks waiting. Does he make plays? Maybe sometimes. But it's I think it's been proven at this point that he doesn't go for it. He doesn't, he's chasing that record, sure, but I think he's trying to give himself, I don't know, as much runway as he can to hit 31 goals. And even so, pre All-Star break, he had 8. At post All-Star break, I think he had 30 some odd. Like, yeah, you picked up, but man, you did not show up. You're the captain of the Washington Capitals. Have been for a while. Like, again, it's more case you got to do better, but you shouldn't have been there in the first place, man.
I think he puts in a little more than you're giving him credit for, and it's
Mm.
coming from Penguins fans, so you can tell that it comes from a genuine spot. You're thinking more of power play Ovi, but I mean Ovi does work best when he has the guy who can feed him and sling him the puck.
Mhm.
Backstrom retired due to injuries, and that sucks.
Yeah.
That is an unfortunate, unpredictable thing that hampered your team, and Kuznetsov just fell off the face of the earth. You did what you had to do. You cut ties with him. You got a return for him, which is more than I think most of us thought you would get.
Mhm.
And those were supposed to be the top two guys. I mean, Dylan Strome's fine. He's developed into a good player, but especially as Ovi gets older and he slows down a little bit, look, top line centers don't grow off trees.
No.
I've said this for a few teams now of like, oh, yeah, just go get an elite center. Yeah, no, they can't do that unless they're Vegas. He really could use somebody who can get him the puck, who can help him, who can support him. Because right now, it's just him. And yeah, he wasn't all that good this season.
Mhm.
He wasn't even an all-star. It was Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
And
Tom
there
Wilson's
have been
not
a couple years where if you told me Tom Wilson was an all-star, I'd go, oh, yeah, okay, sure, I guess. Like a little weak, but I could live with it.
Yeah.
Not good. Not good and not all-star good.
No.
It was Ovi's spot for the taking, and he wasn't good enough. So, I mean, they shut him down. And again, I think part of that is there was no one else to shut down,
Mhm.
but just not good enough. And the team's not good enough. And it's not a shot, man. I don't think the Penguins win that series either. I think we take a game, but
Yeah.
cool. You won 1 out of 16. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
I don't see it. And Lindgren played out of his mind, and he's Charlie Lindgren. That's another thing where you're like, you're going to bet on that? Is a long-term success?
Mhm.
Breakouts happen. I mean, he could be the next Devin Dubnyk, but
Mhm.
a lot of things ended up going right for this team to not be good enough but squeak in anyway,
Yeah.
and now they're a year older.
Yeah. It's it's looking tough for Caps fans.
Oh, believe me, we're in that boat together. We succeeded together. We kicked your butts a lot. You finally got one on us. Now we
All
sink
together.
together.
Yeah. Um,
Islanders are a little weirder though.
yeah, Islanders. I was gonna say, just adding on to Rangers. I think you showed up when you did, and you just played a bad team. Like as you said, there's not really much, but yeah,
There's something to be said about not blowing it to the bad team. Like there is a
mhm,
little there. You won the President's Trophy. I don't really care.
yeah,
Like, go prove to me some of the other ends. It's not a shot. It's not a diss. I think both the Hurricanes and the Rangers could go on and win the cup.
hmm,
I mean, how much can you really take away from this? I just don't think it's much.
yeah, and
Isles are a little weirder.
mhm, they're sort of maybe like an anomaly. And I mean, Washington was is an anomaly. Period. In this playoff series, Islanders again. It's that thing I talked about with Vancouver and Preds. Game swung. You had it in the bag. You blew it. You laid an egg. Like you can't be doing that against the hungry Carolina team that has seen playoff success, but they want to go that step further. They want to win. And you can't, you can't leave food around for these hungry teams that want it. Do you know what I mean?
You're not wrong.
Like also there's a thing to be said, like I think the Hurricanes are good. I think Freddie Anderson coming back was a miracle. I I don't know if that if if he was back, I don't know that they'd well, I think it would have been closer. I still think Carolina would have come out on top if they had to rely on Ronta, if they had to rely on Kochetkov. I think they still would have came out with it. But Freddie Anderson has been your golden goose, at least in even continuing now. Like he's making some great saves, some quality saves after coming off of such a long stint with that, horrid blood clot issue. He's playing good hockey. And I think that's always good to see when I think he's probably more well, I think Kochetkov is the rookie and then, you know, um Ronta placed on waivers earlier this season. Like he's had a tough go of it. But Freddie Anderson playing well. Um I don't know. I don't know a great deal about Carolina. I don't like their third jerseys with the flag. I know that's sort of an aside. I
Wow.
know that's sort of an aside. But yeah,
How this makes the rounds on Twitter is I hope they come after you. That social media team will eat you alive, bud.
I don't care. I don't care. Um I mean, Hurricanes fans can come at me. I don't care. You can try me. You know, I will say I'll give you ammunition even. Um I'm a Leafs hopeful. I'll give you ammunition. Come for me. I don't care. um, but yeah, Freddie's playing out of his mind. Hurricanes good team. They have solid depth. Um, Islanders crap the bed. Can't do that.
Oh, I don't know what to say about this team. It's deeply concerning to me that Ilya Sorokin wasn't the goalie.
Yeah.
That healthy Ilya Sorokin sat on the bench, and it wasn't the wrong decision.
Hmm.
You want more out of Barzell. You want more out of Bo Horvat. Pierre Engvall for 7 years was a strange life decision.
Hmm.
Patrick Waugh seemed to do well. The guy seemed to respond to him. He seems to at
Yeah.
least be a competent NHL coach.
I
Had some
think I think that's my
great success
difference
here on
as
the Qs.
well. But like he was sort of thrown into almost an impossible situation. Like Islanders, you crap the bed in the regular season, toss your head coach out the door. Oh, let's get Waugh in. He was bench boss for Colorado. I don't know that he's been bench boss for any other team,
Not in the NHL. He's
not in the
been with the
NHL.
with the Quebec Ramparts of the Q recently.
Oh, okay.
Beat
So
out our Mooseheads last year.
is he really?
Yeah, no, they won the championship. They went on to win the Memorial Cup. And I mean, the difference between the Moose and Quebec were full display in that series.
Mhm.
One was a group of talented hockey players, the other one was a unit of a team.
Mm.
The unit of a team won. Honestly, I watched that season with my buddy, and I was like, yeah, that guy can go coach in the NHL. And then he went, yeah, okay.
I will.
Just kind of did. And I was like, all right,
And he did.
respect. Can't hate it.
Yeah, well, again, thrown to the wolves, come out on top. Um,
He, what I'll say about him is style wise, he fit right in.
mhm,
It was obvious with Lane Lambert. He worked with Barry Trotz. It was, can we replicate Barry Trotz? The answer was, not really.
kinda.
He wasn't bad. I think he could probably coach another NHL team at some point. He was fine. They wanted and they want that archetype of Barry Trotz because that's what their team's built for.
Mhm.
That's why you give a guy like Pierre Engvall 7 years, although I don't think Pierre Engvall is quite what Lou Lamoriello thought he was.
Yeah.
But like you could kind of see the vision they're going for with those sort of moves. Even, to require a star and it to be Bo Horvat. He can kind of play that game.
Mhm.
They built this team in a way that complemented Patrick Waugh's style. He was able to come in and pull the team up and go, listen, boys, you're not working hard enough. You're not trying hard enough. You're not good enough. And they went, yes, sir. So, the easy way to look at it is they got smacked by Carolina.
Mhm.
And that's not particularly wrong.
No.
But I think part of the also reality is this season could have been an absolute disaster. And you walk away from going, it was okay. And I think the Islanders probably take that at this stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, get Sorokin going, a full year of Waugh. And I think that's all there really is to say on the Islanders, at least on my end.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't
So for,
I think Islanders, like you said, they came out with a somewhat decent, I mean, they made the playoffs, so they had to have been solid enough.
can I refer you to the Capitals again? See, I have a lot of respect for the Caps because we've battled so much. This episode is not at all remotely shining that across. I'm excited to make enemies with Caps fans immediately,
Yeah,
but do it in like a loving way.
in a loving way. Oh, you know what? One thing we didn't talk about with the Hurricanes is their addition.
I don't know if I want to talk.
No,
I miss him. Okay, I miss him.
you miss him.
I like Bunting. I like
Yeah.
Bunting. I'll say I've liked him more than I thought I would.
Hmm.
Gensel's fit in well.
Yeah.
He's a great player, and it's such a shame it took so long for people to realize that he wasn't a product of Crosby.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for years, and no one believed me. And for a while, I didn't really blame them.
Right.
Guys, Jake Gensel's just that guy.
Yeah.
A team could go pay him $10 million in the offseason. And I mean, I'd go a little much, but UFA, good deal.
Mhm.
He's that guy. Please come back to Pittsburgh. I miss you.
So
Tampa Bay.
yeah, I had a feeling we were gonna move on to Tampa Bay.
Well, we got to save the Leafs for last. That's the money one. That's what everyone's here for.
Mm-hmm. You gotta
That's what
make
I'm here for. Tampa Bay's done now, right? Like we're finished with this.
yeah.
I mean, if Stamkos comes back, that helps. It doesn't really seem like he's gonna.
No, I mean, you're waiting this long until saying anything. Maybe there is stuff ongoing that we don't know about, but again, we don't know about it. There's probably a reason. I'd love to see him come back, but it's not looking likely. And I think that, Tampa, they have the players for it. They play with a lot of grit. And some of their, even second, third line guys, they play with heart. And you can clearly see it. Like, I don't know. I think, again, Panthers, man, you would think like this time last year, they're like, well, Panthers are going to win, obviously. Bob went hot. And Bob kept that momentum, and props to him. I think Vasilevsky being injured for a solid portion of your season didn't help you, so that he couldn't build up that momentum. Um,
He never got it back.
no, and that's always sad to see. When I mean, what 2021, 22 back to back. Again, not a lot of teams can say that. You can say that, but not a lot of teams can. Yeah, you can say
I'm
that. You
I'm
can
I'm
say
gonna hold on to this for the next
that.
decade. I need it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Vasi he couldn't get his groove, and it sucks. But everything up front was right. It's just the Panthers play with, I don't know. I hesitate to say a word, so I'm not going to. But the Panthers. Uh you
I
could
don't know
probably
what that
imagine because
means.
I'm a Leafs hopeful. My opinion on the Panthers.
You are in respect.
Yeah.
I
Um
think with I think Vasi will bounce back.
mhm. I mean,
Give
there's
him an
no
off
reason
season to
not
work out.
to. There's no reason he can't.
I
Unless
mean,
he
the
gets
injury at the
injured.
end of the day.
Yeah, injured at the end of the day. But like barring that, I agree. There's no reason he shouldn't bounce back.
I actually don't look at him as the problem though.
No?
I look at this team, I look at Julian Brisebois, and I say, all right, here's the job he had to do. He had to keep a back-to-back cup winner together.
Mhm.
And you look at some of the deals he signed, and he got Point at probably a little less than Point deserved. And he got Cernak on a long-term deal, and it's like, all right, but we can't keep Tyler Johnson and Plot, so those guys go. And neither have been great since they left. And you're like, all right, I'm kind of seeing the vision here. You bring in Nick Paul and you give him a whole lot of years, and he's been fine. And Caps up again. Got to get rid of Ryan McDonough. And that trade right there, I think, is what really did this team in.
Really?
Man, that team misses Ryan McDonough. That team misses him, misses him, misses him. And they got Philip Myers to fill the gap in return. No, wasn't enough.
No.
Yanni Gord went to Seattle. That was someone you had to give up for nothing in the expansion draft because there was just nothing else you could do.
Hmm.
Now you got to look at Stamkos and go, can we give him $8 million? Do we have the money to do that? Maybe not. Sergachev's making a lot of money, and he's great, but he's making a lot of money.
Mhm.
This team has had the impossible job of keeping it together, and for a long time, Brisebois did pretty well. I think we're starting to see him lose that battle, and I mean, eventually you're gonna lose that battle.
Yeah.
Like all good teams end, and it's not necessarily an indictment on him as a GM.
Mhm.
I do have questions about him as a GM because he kind of did inherit a super team, but I think this has been years of Tampa's depth getting too expensive and whittling away. You spend all the first round picks, deservedly so, on guys like Blake Coleman, then they go. So now you got to replace guys with the draft picks that you don't have. It's the cycle that wears teams down. It gets to everyone eventually.
Mhm.
And I think we've kind of hit the point. The Tanner Jeannot trade's kind of the cherry on top. Ooh boy, that one hurts. But it was also a great deal in terms of like that's the player they've been targeting. That type of player. Brandon Hagel, great example, stud.
Yeah.
And I think he got a long-term extension too for an all right number. Eventually, this team is going to run out of runway, and I think they've done it. Now the question is, can Kucherov and Vasilevsky and Hedman and Point be enough to carry them to a championship? Because I think that's kind of where they're at in their cycle. I just don't know that. I think Father Time got to this team, and Gary Bettman's all glorious salary cap got to this team, and I think that's why I led this with is this the end? Not because I think the team sucks,
Yeah.
not because I think they're not even because they're old necessarily, but
Mhm.
they've just lost so much. When you go back and you look at those Cup teams, they're so different, and not in the way that Tampa right now would like it to be.
Yeah.
They'll probably hang around another year or two. They're Tampa. They'll find a way, but to me, I don't see a way that the Cup window's still open.
Mhm. You know who won't? He may not be there in another year or two.
Who?
Oh, it pains me to say it. Mitchell Marner of the organization who hasn't won since the 50s against their particular team that they locked themselves into, which happened to be the Boston Bruins. It is here. Let's let's talk about it.
You want to start off? 'Cause you're a little more of a supporter than I am, so I'll
Yeah,
let you get your thoughts out first.
I mean the sentiment has been tear down, rebuild. I don't exactly disagree with it. Like you're spending $60 million on 4 players, most of them who can't produce.
How much money did you just say?
60 million, 60.
On how many players?
4.
That's not. It's 40.
Is it 4? Okay, maybe it's 40.
Man, that would be crazy though. Yeah, but it's about 40 for the core four.
Yeah. Yeah. So like what do you do? You were put against a team you have not won in the playoffs for eons. You were poised to do it, but it came back again. And this is not the first time. You've lost plenty of home games. You rallied for game 6 to push it. Like again, I don't disagree with tear down, rebuild. What I think they should do, Johnny Toronto, he wants to be there. I think I think he does still get the C and keep the C on for a while, however long he stays. I would say his time is due once the contract ends. Um like he does have a year left. He has next season and then UFA and then away he goes. Marner, man, I'm sure you're a great person. You're invisible. You're invisible. And that's not just me saying it, that's everyone saying it. You're being paid nearly $11 million on cap friendly. It says 10.9 million for a regular season performer who turns invisible in the playoffs. That's tough luck. Like you got to perform where it matters most. And where does it matter most? The playoffs. Like you've been to the playoffs since you drafted Matthews and you've only won one series. Like it's straight up not good enough. Now, that being said, I think they hit a couple home runs with Bertuzzi and Domi. I think they're doing phenomenal on that first line. And Nylander, you got that extension. I mean, you are playing well. You still got to show up. And you had headaches, sure, but you came back and proved yourself. So I think I don't necessarily know that you I don't want to say deserve the 11.5 mil per
He led the
year.
team in goals and
Yeah.
played half the series.
Yeah.
I don't think you can level any criticism of what Nylander did.
No.
I really did. And that guy always, out of the guys in the core, if you want someone who's going to step it up for the playoffs, he's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah. But Marner, like again, if you get sent elsewhere, I hope you bring back a boon for the Leafs. Um, I mean, like looking at their other, I think Robertson did fairly well towards the end. I see no reason why he shouldn't get re-signed. Their pickups a deadline doer. Okay. Um, most did they grab? Labushkin? I don't think that was a deadline, but I mean, shut down defenseman.
He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal in
He's
that
been great.
series. And maybe that's like, I watched all the games. Like, I loved his performance. He didn't wow me in the regular season when they brought him over, but
Mhm.
he did work well in the playoffs.
Yeah. And then I don't think it was no Weber. I think he's just the younger one. Joel Edmondson was the other one. Um.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was fine.
He was fine. He wasn't stand out, but he was fine.
He's
Um.
Joel Edmondson.
He's Joel Edmondson. Now, Sammy. Sammy, you got to go. Like You got to go. Your contract ran out. They arbitrated you for a year. You got 3.5 mil for this season. I think the writing was on the wall when it went to arbitration in the first place. That's like, if you play well, maybe you will get an extension, but I don't know that. Um, I think your time has come. I mean, Caps fans, so I've heard, have been complaining about him for a while. Again, Sammy, I'm sure you're probably not listening to this. Probably not. But I'm sure you're a nice person. You got to get those saves. You can't let, again, it's the same thing as like you can't let Boston, a super, what was the term, snotty. You can't let them dig in, and they dug in. And that's why Joseph Wall, took your starter job for the remainder of the series, and then he got injured for 7, and you came in. Was it close? Yes, it went to overtime. But like, man.
Sammy was phenomenal in Game 7. The first goal can't go in, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
Bad goal, phenomenal.
Yeah.
He really was.
I mean, when you step up against, it was really only Swayman. Olmark played, I think, 1 game. When you step up to the level of Swayman, like, bravo, excellent. You're proving to the fans why you deserve to be there. And like, but the rest, the rest of the playoffs weren't exactly a great look. When you weren't pulled, so something to be said in that. But also the team ahead of you can't score more than 3. So again, tear down, rebuild, do better.
I'm okay with running it back. I know that's a statement that's going to make Leafs fans pull out their hair, but I need you to hear me out a little bit. Number one, good luck trading anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know if Marner's going to waive his clause because he has full control over that. He has full control over where he goes.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't want to move, he's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can pay a team to take John Tavares right now.
No.
And I mean, I thought he had a great playoff series. I really liked his game all the way through. 2 points in 7 games for $11 million.
Yeah.
That's no one's taking that off your hands short of the Marleau trade. And that was for like half the salary. You're not trading Matthews. I think any trade you make with Matthews, you're done. You can afford to lose a trade. You can't afford to lose that trade.
No.
And they wouldn't assign Nylander to change their mind on him in a postseason. I don't see a world, unless Marner wants out, that you could do anything on the core for. I'm also of the mindset, give them a coach that's not Sheldon Keefe.
Yep. Hi, future editing man here. We recorded this episode before the news came out that Sheldon Keefe was relieved of his head coaching duties for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So far, Sheldon Keefe's removal as the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs is the only change we know about at this point in time. But if and when news breaks of any other staff changes, you'll be sure to hear it here on the podcast as under review. One of the first episodes, one of the first corrections. I'm sure many more are to come. And now, without further ado, continue to enjoy this rant about the Toronto Maple Leafs as if Sheldon Keefe was still the head coach.
Give them a coach who will say something to them and mean it and stand by it.
Yeah.
Listen, I know we hear that, they'll talk about that they don't listen to the noise. Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think you try not to. And I think Nylander does. And I don't think Nylander cares what anyone says. But, Marner clearly has not stepped up. And, over the years, he has had pretty consistent playoff numbers. It's among the best of the core 4.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have the clutch moments.
No.
And it also goes back to what I said earlier about the Capitals. In fairness to the core 4, no one else really produced. And, let's say core 3, because I include Tavares in that big time.
Mm-hmm.
You take out Nylander's 3 goals in 4 games. Matthews tied the team lead in points despite having some sort of injury through it. I don't think it was as simple as I have the sniffles. I just don't believe that.
No,
I think
but
I think anyone that believes that does not understand what it's like to be a pro athlete and how
oh,
much work you put in to get there.
absolutely not. Because the only people that believed that is the mob on social media. That is a very vocal mob. But no, there's a reason that the team doctor pulled you and said, no, you're not playing in this game anymore, and you're probably not going to play for the next few.
And at this point, I don't care about Leafs injuries. You're too far in for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Yeah.
not giving you a free pass because of it. But I mean, you know, part of me wants to say, well, you just need the depth scoring. Where are the other guys? Where are the guys? I mean, Bertuzzi, I don't know. That guy's got another level he did not hit in Toronto. I feel disappointed with how that went.
Mm.
Domi was great for the first half of it. Kind of vanished when the Leafs came back. But like $3 million, whatever. Where were the guys secondarily leading the charge? And part of the answer is, well, you can't afford them.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of the answer is also they haven't been able to draft them. And part of the answer is Alex Kerfoot had 6 points in 7 games against Montreal. And they lost. Alex Kerfoot was a point per game, basically, and you've lost.
Mm-hmm.
This team has tried it a lot of ways. And I think now this may have been amongst the best Leaf playoff games we've seen. It's also the worst.
Yeah.
They got mopped in game 1. Like, one team showed up, one didn't. This team gets bigger and they get slower every single year, and they have 2 identities. Well, we got the top guys who score, and then everyone else will just kind of slug around. And what does it do? Look at the Avalanche. They went up against one of the best defenders and one of the best goaltenders in the world and just went, we're going to play our game. And did, and scored 5 goals every single game.
Yeah.
That should be you. There's no, and I mean no, excusable reason why you're not capable of doing that.
No.
Well, Jeremy Swayman was really good. Sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
I mean,
don't win a cup.
Yeah, on paper, you should have been a lot better. Is Patrice Bergeron just retired? Marchand, or whoever you want to say it. Like, I think at this point, you know what he does. You know he'll dig under your skin, and then he'll get a couple points for it. Pastrnak, he didn't show up for a majority of it, and you didn't take advantage of it.
Guy gets called out by his coach, goes out, scores the Game 7 overtime winner.
7 OT winner, yeah.
And nothing from Keefe. Just such little response.
Well, response being, I think they did well. Like, I think that they made the effort. And it's like, well, Keefe, no, they didn't.
No, they did. They made a great effort, man. I mean, They tried real hard. They wanted to win. It sure is a good thing that 31 other teams don't try.
Yeah. I guess so.
Like, with Keefe will coach in the NHL again. He deserves to. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a player who can handle themselves, like a McKinnon, like a Crosby, like a Kucherov, he doesn't work. He needed to rein these guys in, and they were completely unable to. And then people will go, well, what Babcock? Well, Mike Babcock sucks. He's a bad person.
Yes, that has been proven.
Like, man, great. Don't go to that extreme. Even John Tortorella. You think you put John Tortorella on this team that Mitch is going to pull some of the stuff that's happened over the years? Do you think that he doesn't going to get the most out of every star on the team? Keefe can't do it.
No.
And I mean, you can sit there and go, well, if Wool was healthy, man, you've had injuries every year. And it's true, man. They've had such a rough go.
Yeah.
Muzzin's been down a couple times. Tavares has gone out in some pretty brutal fashions.
I think, isn't Muzzin retired?
He's gone. Yeah. He's done. I don't know what the official status on him is. He's done. He's not playing again.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought he saw retired. Klingberg was a disaster. You saw him.
Klingberg was going to be a disaster. They got
Yeah.
lucky with him. And that's horrible to say about a guy's health, but
Yeah.
they got bailed out by the fact that he got hurt.
And then
I don't know what the thought was there.
And then Matt Murray didn't play.
He gave them okay hockey for a year, but he acquired a goalie with injury history and he got injured.
What exactly were they expecting?
It didn't really cost you nothing. LTIR kind of bailed you out of that mess. So, I mean, some people look at that one critically. I just kind of shrug my shoulders and go, I hope the guy gets a chance to play again.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I have a soft spot for Matt Murray. I know, very shocking. The Leafs have tried a lot of things, and that's a credit to Kyle Dubas more so than, and even Tree Living a little bit, because they definitely changed the complexion of this team this year.
Mm-hmm.
And everything they've tried has still felt kind of the same.
Yeah. It seems like they're very stuck in this rut that they can't get out of. No matter how hard they try to claw out of it, they're just still there.
Does the mix not work, or have you not changed how they play?
Yeah.
Because again, I think you're stuck with them next year, man.
Mm-hmm.
How many teams is Marner willing to go to? Let's say 10, and that might be a high number.
Mm-hmm.
Then you gotta make a good trade out of it. Like, I've seen some Leafs fans be like, "Oh, this is the Kawhi Leonard trade. This is gonna be the Kawhi Leonard trade." And if it's the Kawhi Leonard trade, you are the Spurs. Elite player who can play some defense, because Marner plays some penalty kill, so I'll give him props there. 1 year left on his deal, wants out. You are the Spurs. You're not the ones that are going to win this deal. I even if you can trade him, I don't know that you're going to get anything worth your time out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most you will get, first rounder, I don't think that's going to matter, because it's more likely than not you're going to make the playoffs. So at that point, you're picking, 17 or below. You're not going top 10, at least for a little while. If you don't make the playoffs, maybe. And
I think if you can get what Vegas got for Eichel, you're doing pretty good. Solid prospect, first round, second round, maybe a player. I think that has to be the bar of where you set it. Maybe you lose the second rounder because he's a year away from free agency, or maybe you get the deal done right away and that's not a concern. I'm not sure which. But, yeah, how many teams is he going to want to go to? And how many people are going to go, yeah, Mitch Marner, after what we've seen the Leafs do, is who we want at $11, $12 million, because he's getting a pay raise.
Mm-hmm.
And not entirely undeserved either. I don't know how you trade these guys, but I also still think you can win with this group, because how is your power play 1 for 21? Like, that can't just be a player thing at that point. And again, people go, "Oh, Swayman, man, you've been goalied by great goalies. You've been goalied by terrible goalies. I don't care. 1 for 21. You're under 5%.
It's shocking.
There's nothing you can say about that justifies it any more than just fire whoever's in charge of the power play and start anew.
Mm-hmm.
But my overall thoughts on the Leafs is, I don't think you can change the way you want to. Keefe has to be gone. If Sheldon Keefe's back, I really think you're punting the year. You kept him for 1 year. He's a good regular season coach. He is a great, if you know baseball, Charlie Montoyo for the Jays, where he kind of came in with the young guys and he kind of got them, got their skills up and had them feeling good about themselves and got them to a point where they could push for the playoffs and, sneak in a little bit if you're lucky. And that's Keefe, and that's fine. That's a respectable role. And
yeah, it's serviceable.
He can go deep on a year, sure, but I mean, he's been outcoached every year he's been at the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the 1 year where it felt like the other team had all the pressure and all the fear on them, you still scored 1 goal.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. The gig is to win. And if you can't trade the players, which, again, I'm doubtful of, there is one guy you could get rid of. pretty easily.
Mhm.
Brendan Shanahan to be determined. I think he's safe. I don't think he goes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the writing is on the wall as much as it is for Shelley, but I think it's starting to unravel, but it's not quite there yet. I agree. I think he's probably safe for the year. But
Problem is, we're also 7 years into it.
yeah.
When is it unravel? Like, how are we starting to unravel here? Like,
Yeah.
it's
That's
too
true.
late.
I mean, you got to
It,
save execution when you won against Tampa. Time's come.
and the last thing I think we talk about leaves. Mitch Marner is a god.
Mitch Marner is a god. That is apparently a known fact. Not apparently, that is a known fact apparently.
So is Ilya Labushkin. If you really want to be specific, technically Matt Murray still is a god.
Yeah.
At the end of season presser, he discussed himself, and he was, the full context of this quote really is not getting around as much as it should, and I think that's the first problem here.
Mhm.
Because when you hear the full quote, it's not such a bad quote.
Yeah.
It's a little poor timed,
Yeah. But
but he
taken out
was
of context, it's 100% funnier.
really funny out of context. But basically, he was asked, the conversations that you kind of expect, what it means to be a Leaf, whether or not he wants to be back.
Yeah.
And what he said was, it means the world. We're looked upon as kind of gods here, to be honest, and that's something you really appreciate.
Hmm.
The love you get from the love you get here from the fan base, the attention's unlike any other.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
He's been getting clowned on social media, and it's because you're the wrong person saying it at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a reason that as a Penguins fan, I was like, "Get me to Toronto." Hey, they're a fascinating story, and they really are.
Yeah.
But also, this is the big money team. This is, all the people who go, "Oh, the Toronto media," this is the money, man.
Yeah.
And it's because of the way that their fans look at them. He's right. But man, he couldn't have said that
After
any other time.
Yeah. You got first rounded by a team you haven't beaten in the 50s. Like you can't go around saying we're gods. It's just
Yeah,
it doesn't compute. I will believe it if and when you win a series against a team that isn't the Lightning or against a
well,
team that
how did the Lightning count?
I don't know. I suppose yeah, I guess when you exercise your demons,
Get to the
maybe
third round.
yeah.
Be Final Four. You can kind of luck into a series win. And I mean, honestly, that was one of the worst series the Leafs had played.
Mhm.
They were not the better team against Tampa Bay, which, they were usually pretty close or better than most teams they played. They weren't the better team against Tampa when they won. You can luck into one.
Yeah.
After two, it's a little more than luck going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mitch Marner, noted god.
Noted god. And I think on that note, I think that's it.
I think it's all we've got.
I think that's all we got.
These teams, this is going to be an interesting snapshot, and trying to stick within the hour mark, it's hard because you want to really go in depth and you want to rip through the cap friendly and stuff like that.
Oh, we're past the hour mark.
Oh, I know we are. But that's sort of like the vibe we aim for. We're
Yeah.
really bad at it already, you can tell. But we got a lot to say.
Yeah. We'll have
That's
more to say, too.
what the off season's for.
Yeah.
We'll have a whole summer where nothing's happening. We will be able to break down these teams. None of these teams' stories are over. Other than the Vegas Golden Knights, when I look at the list of teams that have fallen, I don't think any of the teams look at their season and go, yeah, we're happy with where we are. We're done. We don't need to change anything.
Yeah.
We will be hearing about these teams. At least one in the Jets needs a coach.
Mhm.
Probably two in Toronto. Could be three in LA, honestly.
Mhm.
They'll need coaches. Guys will need to be re-signed. Trades will be made. These are not the last you're going to hear of these teams, but I mean, this is a snapshot.
Mhm.
A snapshot of where we are right now. And the things that will come will hopefully at least be entertaining. If nothing else, hopefully they'll make great talking points.
Yeah, that's the bar. As long as it's entertaining and we can talk about it, then
And as long as you're listening,
Yeah,
it's an important
as long as we have
important part.
important listeners like you, the whole
What-
two people.
Yeah, I think you phrase it like one of those like public broadcasting channels. Thanks to listeners like you.
Yeah, PBS.
Yeah.
This is brought to you in part by us, and that's it.
Two guys in basement. Are you in a basement? I don't know if
Yes,
you're in a basement. Yeah.
lower floor, but basically a basement.
Two guys in their lower floors. Man, that sounds not as catchy as basements, but we're
Nope.
gonna roll with it.
Yeah, two guys in basements talking about hockey. I can't even skate. You can barely skate if you're worried.
So I might be here this winter. I got people trying to get me in. I can't imagine it'll go well, but they're trying to get me in. So we'll see.
Anyhow, yeah, I think this has been it for us. This is not the full lineup. And I think I feel like that's a teaser for probably a little while to come. But I'll just get that implanted in the heads that this is not the full lineup. This is not the full cast.
We have a dream team, but unfortunately, one of them is distracted with unimportant things like having a child.
Yes, very, very unimportant things.
So he unfortunately had to put aside a hockey podcast that didn't exist at the time that he found out.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever.
Fine. You got stuff going on.
Listen, I'm just saying, a Leafs fan not fully dedicated to hockey in May and June sounds familiar.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think he'll have a lot more to say come off season in terms of the Leafs, and we'll hear about it. We will hear about it.
Hopefully, we can get him on, even if just for one episode. Let him go ballistic on the Leafs.
Oh, it would be. I'd love to hear his thoughts on this series in particular.
We haven't heard from him since they've lost, which I think is unrelated, but
probably unrelated. But we don't know.
There's a slight chance that they're connected.
There's a slight chance that they're connected.
Very well, you might find out how he feels exactly when we do.
Yeah. And that'll be great. First reactions are always go off well, right?
I'm sure the time has calmed him.
You know what? I don't know. No.
Surely he's calm and relaxed and happy now.
Surely. That'll be entertaining. But I think we'll leave it there for now. We have been your hosts, Liam Green and
Ryan Pulsiver.
That's it. That's all. We'll be back sometime soon.
Smooth intro. I like it.
Yeah. And well, I mean, I guess what will we have next episode? Will it be round 2?
Well, I mean, as these are all coming out together, right? So technically, if this is the first episode you've clicked on, there's 2 others.
Yeah.
We've got one where we talk a little bit about ourselves because, we have a little personality in us, so we want you to kind of know a little bit about who we are going in.
Kind of, sort of.
And we basically skipped all the teams that won. And we didn't think that was very fair. So we're going to talk about round 2 matchups. It's going to come out so very late from when the second round started. We had this whole plan. Behind the scenes of 2 guys who've never done this before. We're like, all right, we're going to go between round 1 and 2. And we knew there only might be like a 1-day thing.
Yeah.
Where we would have to really work. No, the second round started. Yeah.
So
which is and as soon as I did it, I went, oh yeah, you have done that before. Yeah. Like as soon as I did it, I remembered. I hate that they do it. I think it's weird. I think it's silly, but totally messed us up. And now we have no deadline to hurry us up, so we've been slow. So very late round 2 predictions. Promise you, we're not cheating because we don't care that much.
No,
my team's not even remotely in it, so we don't care enough to cheat.
Yeah, we're not.
And you'll probably know when we're wrong.
Okay, I think that's everything.
Boo. End the podcast on that one. Boo. I'm walking away. You're on your own. Good luck.
All right.
I'm leaving you on that one. Boo.
And he's gone. Well, folks, that has been us. Thank you for listening. As we said, there's 2 more episodes. Quite likely you can listen to. Talk to you all again soon.